She didn't walk into the room looking for trouble. Her smile wasn't a trap. Her glance wasn't a signal. She wasn't searching for temptation. She was searching for something she'd forgotten she needed: to feel alive. She didn't plan to cross a line. Lines blur slowly, almost invisibly, when you're starving for connection and no one seems to notice. When conversations turn into checklists. When touch becomes routine. When love starts to feel more like obligation than affection. But something was missing. Not extravagance, not excitement. Something simpler, more human. To be noticed, to be valued, to feel like she mattered again. And when people stop feeling seen, they start looking elsewhere. Not always with intention, but with ache. This is not a justification. This is not a pass for betrayal or a romanticized excuse. This is a warning, a mirror, a wake-up call. Because people don't fall out of love all at once. They drift. They wither in the absence of attention. They grow quiet in the noise of neglect. So if you're wondering how you got here, maybe ask yourself this. Not, why did she do it? But, when did I stop showing her she didn't need to? There's a harsh truth that too few people are willing to say out loud. Some married women become easier targets. Not because they are weak, not because they are reckless, but because their marriages are already falling apart in ways no one sees. Before you react, before the outrage rises, listen closely. This is not a defense of betrayal. This is not an attempt to romanticize infidelity. Cheating is a choice, a deliberate, damaging one. It is a breach of trust, a fracture in the foundation of commitment. No one makes someone cheat. The responsibility always lies with the person who crosses that line. But let's not pretend that betrayals come out of nowhere. Every act of infidelity has a backstory, and it's often written in the margins of a relationship long before the final mistake is made. In many relationships, the breakdown doesn't happen in a dramatic explosion. It doesn't come with slammed doors and screaming matches. It arrives quietly. It shows up in the form of distraction, of distance, of emotional silence. It begins when affection becomes routine. When, "How was your day?" turns into silence at dinner. When one partner starts feeling more like a roommate than a lover. It's in the texts that go unanswered, the kisses that grow mechanical, the days that blur together without connection. Neglect, not the loud kind, but the slow, invisible kind, is often the true beginning of the end. And in that vacuum of presence, in that aching space where attention used to live, someone from the outside sometimes slips in. Not because they're brilliant manipulators, not because they have something extraordinary to offer, but simply because they noticed, because they listened, because they made her feel seen. And for a woman who has spent months or even years feeling invisible, that attention can feel like oxygen after drowning in emotional deprivation. Let's be clear. This isn't a justification. This isn't an excuse. It's a call for awareness, a call for honesty, because marriages don't break overnight. They fade slowly, under the weight of what's left unsaid. And if we're ever going to have real conversations about loyalty and betrayal, we need to start talking about the loneliness that lives inside the relationship, not just the mistakes that happen outside of it. Again, let's be clear, this is not a pass. It's not an excuse, not a rationalization, not a softening of the blow. Cheating is wrong. It's a betrayal of trust, a deliberate step outside the bounds of loyalty. No one stumbles into infidelity by accident, it's a choice. But if we truly want to prevent it, if we're serious about protecting relationships rather than just punishing the aftermath, then we have to stop looking only at the final act and start paying attention to the conditions that allow it to happen. A neglected relationship is a vulnerable one, and it doesn't matter how long you've been together. It doesn't matter how many anniversaries you've celebrated, how many children you've raised, how many vows you've exchanged under candlelight. Love doesn't survive on history. It survives on effort, on presence, on intentional connection. When that connection dies, when conversations dry up, when intimacy fades, when appreciation is replaced by assumption, a dangerous space opens up. In that space, someone else may appear. Someone who listens, someone who notices, someone who simply offers what's been missing. And sometimes, that's enough to tilt the fragile balance. And no, let me say it again, that does not make the cheater right. It doesn't absolve them. It doesn't make the betrayal any less painful or any less wrong. But it does shine a light on something critical. When the foundation of a relationship is weak, when cracks go unattended, it's only a matter of time before the weight becomes too much to bear. Strong relationships require maintenance. They require honesty. They require both people showing up not just physically, but emotionally. So if we really want to guard against infidelity, we have to stop pretending that love is self-sustaining. We have to water it. We have to show up for it. We have to pay attention before someone else does. This is where Stoicism speaks not with emotionless detachment, but with grounded clarity. You cannot control the actions of others. You cannot dictate their decisions, their loyalty, or their flaws. What you can control is how fully you show up in your life, how present you are in your relationships, whether you operate from intention or drift through assumption. Too often, people treat marriage like a destination, as if the wedding is the end of effort, rather than the beginning of a lifelong discipline. They stop being curious about each other. They stop evolving together. They get so comfortable in the idea of forever that they forget forever still needs attention. Marriage, like any meaningful connection, is a practice. It requires showing up daily, especially on the ordinary days. It's built not just on passion, but on patience. Not just on love, but on presence. And in the absence of that presence, small distances begin to grow. Not overnight, not dramatically, but steadily, subtly. If a woman becomes a target, it does not automatically make her innocent, but it often signals something deeper, that a space meant to be filled with safety and trust has gone unattended, that what once felt sacred now feels routine. And in that still, neglected silence, someone else stepped in, not always with malicious intent, but with attention that had long been missing. This isn't about blame. It's about awareness. You can't always stop what others do, but you can refuse to be passive in the role you play. You can choose to tend to the bond, to protect what matters before it becomes fragile. Because relationships don't stay strong by default. They stay strong because both people stay awake inside them. This isn't about assigning guilt. This isn't about pointing fingers or keeping score. It's about something far more powerful. Accepting responsibility before the damage becomes irreversible. Because the real threat to a relationship is rarely some outsider with charm or timing. It's not the coworker, the DM, or the friend who just gets them. The real threat is the quiet distance that's grown inside the relationship itself. The emotional gap that goes unspoken. The unmet needs that go unnoticed. The slow drift that happens when two people stop turning toward each other. That is what creates the opening. Not temptation, but disconnection. So guard your relationship with intention. Not fear, not control, not suspicion, but with presence, with attention, with curiosity. Stay curious about each other. Don't assume you've already learned everything there is to know. People evolve. Love evolves. And the strongest marriages are the ones that grow together through every version. Because the most dangerous place for a relationship isn't in conflict. Arguments can be repaired. Fights can be resolved. The real danger lies in neglect. In the space where effort used to live. In the silence that replaces real connection. In the assumption that love will maintain itself without care. So if you care about protecting your relationship, don't wait until you're picking up pieces. Be present. Be intentional, and choose each other every single day.